Hello and welcome to our weekly podcast. We are very excited to be here. And since everyone was disappointed we didn't talk about what we're doing, I say let's try that again. So Judy, why don't you tell us what you're doing?
So I'm just getting ready to publish my 16th book. It comes out next Friday. And so I just sent out the ARCs this morning. And so I now get to anxiously wait to hear what people think of it. So that's always nerve-wracking. And I've started another book, but it's kind of going to be sitting on the back burner for a little while I do make all my conference classes and all that fun stuff and publish my book. So that's what's going on.
Are you publishing a third book in your Eden Falls series?
Yeah. I have plans for at least 5. So I'll work on book 3 next.
And then I heard that like on your Instagram that you have a cover. Or you a cover.
A what?
A cover.
Oh, I'm working on that right now. I have the illustrator working on the couple right now. He had to tweak something. So I'm hoping to have a cover soon because it'd be nice to have maybe at the back of the book or whatever. So we'll see.
And now
I still have to get a title.
Because we have not seen it.
Yeah.
I saw you say that. And I was like, oh, she hasn't shared with us. I want to know. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Well, as soon as you get it, let us know.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, Michelle, what are you up to?
Let's see. This morning I uploaded episodes 22 through 25 on my Kindle Vella story. That's been doing really well. It stayed in the top 20 of the top favorited stories on Kindle Vella. So I'm really happy about that. I think right now it's like around 18. It's been bounced between 15 and 18 the last few weeks. And so I'm having fun figuring out that platform. And I was happy that they gave bonuses out to all the new authors. Like there were authors getting all kinds of different amounts. So it wasn't just like the very top people. Mm-hmm. Everybody got a little bit of bonus money. So that was really awesome of Amazon to do, to keep everybody motivated.
Yeah.
And then I'm also working on my last Summer of First Kisses book. And it's been hard to get back into it because it's been like a year and a half or something since I published the last one. And we all know how I am about finishing series, but my readers keep contacting me in a surprising way.
Yeah.
A beautiful way, I suppose, in a lot of ways, but they're not letting me let it go. So I've been working on that this morning. And I almost was late to the podcast because I got into the flow. So that was fun.
It's good to get into the flow.
Yes.
Is it called Last Summer of First Kisses?
No, The Summer of First Kisses. It's my last book.
Oh, because you said Last Summer of First Kisses. And I was like,
I said, it's the last book in my Summer of First Kisses.
Okay. It's easier that way. Okay. And then I am trying to finish my second to my last Rules of Love series book. I'm about 30,000 words into it. And I'm hoping to make it a shorter one because I have a lot more books to write by the end of November. Some of which may get pushed out to December, which is fine. So I'm working on those. My husband and I are looking at moving again. So we are putting offers in on houses and driving all over the place to find something. And then I just pitched a book to my agent to hopefully maybe start looking into trad publishing, which I'm kind of excited to try. To work with an editor and all that kind of stuff to see what that world is like. So we'll see if that happens. It's a book I've had it's a spin-off. It's like a one-off book. It's nothing in my series. It would be a for love, fun book for me to write. And I was like, hey, why don't I see if my agent wants to pitch it around? So you know what? You got to try everything. That's my philosophy. Mm-hmm. So in the theme of our podcast last month, we talked about when to reset. And this podcast, we're going to talk about what I wish I'd known when I started, or what I would be, if I could go back in time and tell my first book self, what would I tell them? And so I'm really excited for this. We got a lot of questions, but does anybody want to just jump in and say, like, I wish I had known this, or if I could go back and tell myself, I would tell them blah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You both are like,
yes. Okay. So I talk about this a lot. There's obviously so many things that I've learned, like writing to market and all the like craft writing stuff I've learned. But I think what I would tell myself more that would save me trouble now is not to make promises to my readers personally about what I'm going to publish and when I'm going to publish it. And that kind of flies in the face of what most authors want to do, so was like pre-orders and advanced promoting. But I know now how I work, and it really makes me struggle and get writer's block and lose interest and have sort of like procrastination issues. So that's my goal for next year, is to stop telling my readers what I'm publishing next and when I'm going to read it, like have it done for them to read, because then they get mad and I don't have any flexibility, and I need flexibility more than anything. So that's fine.
Cool. I have a few. So first because I was the person who revised my first 2 books for like 5 years. So I would tell myself that a book is never going to be like perfect. But it can be good and good enough. And it's okay to move on and send that book off. And I'd also tell myself, publish right now, because back then it was the glory days of self-publishing. So that would have been awesome.
So that's why I'm teaching a class in our conference called How to Break Up with Your First Book. Exactly that.
Yeah. So it's a helpful topic. And then I would also, like kind of what Michelle was saying, I would not talk too much about the book I'm planning to write or currently writing until I'm like a good chunk of the way into it, because I've learned that the storyline changes as I go, and I can have all these plans for what I'm wanting to happen, and then it doesn't necessarily go that way, and then I feel guilty, and then I'm like, oh, but I promised them this story. And so I just want to, I would tell myself, just you can keep things to yourself for a little while, and then when you actually have solid stuff, then you can start sharing. And then also I would tell myself to stop like setting deadlines with your editor until your book is actually done.
I have the same problems, Judy.
I know, because it just stresses me out so much, and then like the last few weeks are just like, I gotta finish this book. So yeah, I would just basically just try to keep less stress out of my life, and be okay with maybe not getting things out right this minute. So yeah.
Perfect. And I would think I have a lot, but also it's like that thing where you go back and you're like, but if I hadn't made this mistake, I wouldn't have learned this. And I think for me, my biggest thing I would tell myself is to write fast, but don't ignore your books. And I think what happened to me was that I just got so many books out so fast that I didn't pay attention to my previous books. And books should be making me money. Like every series can make me a solid amount of money, right? And I think I just chased that first, like the new launch so much that I just lost track of what my backlist was doing, which is a class I'm teaching, how to move from front list to backlist income, because backlist income is so nice. And almost to the point, I have so many books now that I can't focus on all of them. So I only focus on a few. And then it makes me realize, well, did I really need those other books? Like if I had always kept an eye on all my backlist books, and as my front list became my backlist, like it makes me wonder, did I need to exhaust myself as much as I was doing? I don't think that. So really having an intention in what I was doing. And also that I know we talk about the Amazon algorithm being picked up in it, and that is great. But I always just had this panicked feeling that if my book didn't get to a certain height in a certain period of time, that my book was going to fail. And that's not true at all. A year and a half later, I can get my Magnolia book up into the top 1,000. So I'm like, I have the ability to manipulate stuff like that. So, and I was always an advertiser. Like I get it for people who aren't big advertisers. Like I like that control. And so like, I don't freak out anymore about my new releases, and I don't work to push them. And books that I've seen people who have had the books out for 6 months, all of a sudden take off and start selling more. So you never really know. And then I think my other one was, don't forget your reader. Because I think we always just are like, I don't have a good relationship with my readers. And it's partly because of me, but it's also because I don't have time. Like I don't have time to go on my Facebook group or to go on Instagram. And I was big into TikTok and now I'm getting weird men following me. And so I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do that anymore or close that account and start a new one. Like I don't have enough like of a relationship with my readers. And I wish that I had a better relationship with them. But then I guess also wonder, like, probably most of my readers don't want a relationship with me, but those who do really, really like having a relationship with their readers or their authors. And I see other author models that I look at and think, well, I would like to be like that. Their big thing is that they have relationships with their readers. So those are the things that I wish I could have gone back and told myself back then. But then again, I wouldn't have learned that now. So this is a difficult, for me, this is like a difficult topic.
Okay. But they get to learn from our mistakes, so I think that helps. And I thought of another thing also. I would learn to set up a series good from the beginning, because I was kind of like, I'd written a book that was meant to be a standalone, but I'm like, writing a series is the way to keep readers in, and so I would have told myself that before I even wrote that first book.
Yes, and that's that thing that comes back to be intentional, know what you want to do. But I think when you start out writing, you don't know what you want or what you want to do.
An odd one that just came to mind that I made, a mistake I made, and I've seen a lot of other authors. I don't know if it's a mistake. Maybe it's not like your best foot forward, but don't start a series with a Christmas book.
Yeah. Or book 2. Don't make that.
Book 2, or like go back and think I should, like, if you're going to do a series, plan from the beginning. To like, if you want to put a Christmas story in your series, let it be like a later one and not like your first one. I would even say don't make your first book at all. Like if you still haven't published your first book, don't make it a Christmas book, which I also did. Just because Christmas books are great at Christmas time, but the rest of the year they don't sell. And then like you get feeling really bad about yourself in the middle of the year when your Christmas book is not selling at all and you feel like you failed as an author, and it's just, part of it. Heidi.
Yeah, I've like given up on, I don't even plan to write Christmas books anymore. I'm like,
No, I'm not writing that this year. I was working on my planner with Amy before we started, Emery, sorry. And I opened up December and I was like, see this? I'm not doing anything this December because I've been so burned out on writing Christmas books for 10 years now. Every Christmas, it seems like. And I am putting out a box set of other books I've written, and that's all I'm doing this year. And I'm really excited. So
Yes, I agree. I also think like when I read other people who talk about things that they're doing now that they didn't do before, I think it's writing longer books and getting more in depth with the stories that you're telling and the characters and things like that. And I think you should follow the rules when you're starting out, but like being okay to break some rules at the same time. But that's more for
my dog is driving us crazy, guys. Sorry,
he's very distracting. So, okay, let's jump into some of these questions. What do you wish you'd known about craft? For example, what did you believe as a genre reader that you thought would translate or be useful as an author but wasn't?
I'm a visual
from
person.
Steph Scott. What do you wish you'd known about craft? Next time maybe I'll set up the questions when teachable, and then we should be able to.
Oh, that's a good idea. So I don't know about the second part because I have never been an exclusive reader to any one genre. I've always read across genres. And I think that everything I've learned from science fiction, fantasy, mystery, steampunk, Regency, everything that I've read in some way or other helps me in any other genre I'm writing in. But if I was to say, what have I learned about craft? It would be about the importance of conflict and suspense, and about how much better using and understanding theme, how it works with both your characterization and your plot. Those two things. So it would be conflict and suspense, and then using theme in my stories, because it changed my writing.
And I think knowing what kind of writer you are. So like there are people who are very detailed in their like like scenery and all that kind of stuff. And I am not at all. And I am trying to get better and putting more of my senses into my story. But I also think that there's readers for both. Like some readers get bored if all you talk about for 3 pages is what the mountains look like. But there's other people who love it. So that would probably be mine, knowing what kind of reader I am and taking advice based
From,
on
like,
people who
critique
are
partners?
not your genre, like your style of writing. We went to a class once where she was like, well, how many? She's like, a fourth of your book you're going to throw away when you go. It was like a self-editing class.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, a fourth of my, well, there goes like my first half of my book because no, that's not, because there's people who write a lot and have a lot of filler. And there's
She
people
said
who write
40,000 words, cut 40,000
Oh
words.
my
That's what it was. And we were just like, that's like almost my whole book.
So like knowing what kind of reader you are or writer you are and learning how to take advice from
Yeah.
different people about craft.
So yeah, it's like knowing what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because when you're a new author and you're learning all these different sort of theories on how to do it, you feel like, oh, I should be doing that because this person says so. But not necessarily. We all have to, like, it's good to try things, but it's best to analyze it and say, did that work for me or did it not? And I would say if we're talking about what new readers need to hear, I would say absolutely new readers, and it's something I had to learn, was how to not put in too much like backstory, exposition in general, especially at the beginning of your story and the beginning of your chapters. So the craft of being able to slowly drop bits and pieces of backstory and description and all of those good things instead of dropping it in big chunks at the beginning is a skill that every new writer is going to have to learn to do. And I think too many people wait too long to develop that, because I'm always reading books and I'm like, it's so hard to get into this book or so hard to get into this chapter. And it's almost always because there's huge paragraphs of exposition at the beginning of it. And they know how hard that was for me to kick as a habit.
Yeah. And I think for me, like, I would have, something that slowed me down a lot was trying to like stick to my outline really hard and try to make all the things fit into my story and it just took like a lot of work trying to make every little thing fit in perfectly. So I would tell myself that it's okay to drop ideas, and it's okay. And you don't have to use every good idea you had, and it's okay to take inspiration as you go.
Perfect. All right. So there was a lot of questions. I was just trying to read through some of them. Somebody was asking about specific to publishing poetry. We don't know a lot about publishing poetry. So if that's something that you're looking for, I'd probably just write a post about it in the group, and maybe some poetry people can come out and answer those questions. Tips on launching, building up the interest before the launch when you're writing the book or have it on pre-order. So what are things that you wish that you had now that you know that you wish you had, that you could tell yourself in the beginning?
So something that I like to do now is as I'm writing, like I'll kind of keep track of little scenes or little snippets that I like that you know can maybe stand on their own and maybe bring some interest. And so I'll just highlight them in my manuscript and put a comment and say possible teaser or whatever. And then I can just, when I'm ready to start sharing teasers, then I can just, you know, look through the document like, okay, there's a thing, I'll pop it in and into some pretty image and share it.
I would say scale your efforts based on how big of a platform you have. So if like you're a new author and or like brand new and have no readers and no like social media following or newsletter subscribers, then like don't waste a lot of time on that. You can start with your platforms and start putting out a few things, but really don't put so much effort, because you're basically just screaming money. You're basically just screaming into the void. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And really the best way to start finding readers is by getting your story out. So get your story out, and then there's plenty of time to advertise and find your readers after that and get going on your second book. So readers, right? And that's back to my class I want to teach on breaking up with your first book, because they spend so much time and effort on finding like book bloggers and ARC readers and paying for promos and maybe paying for advertising and all this stuff on their first book. And we all know that like first books are a learning process in the first place, but you also, the best that free advertising is going to do for any author is to be to their existing audience. I really think that, unless you're just funneling a lot of money into like Facebook ads, your best success with pre-advertising is going to be to existing readers. So scale how much effort you put into that to how large your platform already is at that time.
Yeah.
I would say as well, my biggest thing is pushing, well, one of my biggest things is pushing people to my newsletter, but also people following me on Amazon. And I think that is a big, if you're not somebody who's big on social media and stuff like that, getting BookBub followers and Amazon followers besides your newsletter subscribers, because you have to think somebody normally has to see things 3-4 times before if they know you, it's probably less. But if they get an email from Amazon, or they get a notification from their Kindle, and they get an email from you, and they see you on Facebook, they're more likely to do that. So don't ignore those platforms. And it's really easy. Just have it as a link in your newsletter. Say, follow me, or in your Facebook group, have them follow you there. I think that there's a lot of stuff that people. I personally think people get too into like having the perfect Instagram world, and I'm just not 100% convinced that it's very specific books do really well on Instagram. So I'm not, maybe that's just me. I'm just not 100% believer in Instagram, but I can see a lot of time being wasted and income being wasted trying to push your platform on Instagram, where they have Instagram ads now, so they're not going to really take your post and push it to everybody. You're going to have to pay for it unless you get enough engagement and they see enough excitement around it. Then Instagram starts pushing it. But yeah, I would say that those types of interests towards your book really is just going to be visibility.
Yeah. So to kind of like add to it, she's saying, when you're talking about building that platform so you can start some of these pre-advertising and post-advertising efforts, the point is that on Instagram and Facebook, you can do a great job and naturally attract readers there. But in order to reach them best, try to move them to other platforms where you know that you'll have a bigger impact on them, because like she said, Instagram doesn't show your post to everybody, and Facebook definitely doesn't show your Facebook fan page or
TikTok's getting that way now.
Yeah, if you can't rely on a platform to show all of your followers there everything about your books, then you need to encourage them to follow you on other platforms. And so I'm always telling my newsletter subscribers, please follow me on BookBub, follow me on Amazon. Like she said, share the link where all they have to do is click and they can follow, because then they have multiple platforms that they don't even have to do anything for, and you don't even have to do anything for, where they start getting news about your book. Because it's frustrating that we can't see our followers on Amazon, but it's so satisfying when you know that Amazon's sending your book out to people. Just yesterday, one of my local friends was so surprised when Alexis suggested one of my books to her. And I wasn't surprised, because she may not follow me on Amazon, but she's read my books. So everyone knows she's part of my market.
I get them all the time on my Kindle notification. So-and-so just released a book.
And on BookBub, all you have to do is sign up for a new book release, and they'll send it for free to all of your followers. You can't get better than that.
Are they still doing that? I thought I saw something saying they.
No. So they've had the different things where they have the paid promos you can do on your new books, and I think they did away with one of those. Because it wasn't really working or effective. But as far as I know, they still have the free news release alert that goes to your followers.
Okay, cool.
And this kind of ties into this question: how to overcome feeling pushy when trying to promote my work. I think having all the readers sign up, then you allow the other sites to push it for you. And you have to remember that your readers want to know about your book. Yeah. They want to know. I tell this all the time. When my husband wants to write, and he was looking for books to read, and he got completely overwhelmed with Amazon. People will stick to what they know, and if they've enjoyed your book, they want to read more of them. And so that's just something to keep in mind. It's just harder for them to find you with all the noise, and it does take us longer to write books. So we have to take, they're going to forget about us. Hopefully not. But then once they get it in their face, hey, and they're like, oh yeah, I read that. I read a book by that author. Oh, I should read that next one. Then it's be easier for them.
Yeah, just remember, you're not being pushy if it's people who want your stuff.
Yeah.
You're going into like Facebook groups or like places that have no idea who you are or don't even read your genre, then yeah, it might be pushy and annoying to people. So like find appropriate places and spaces to share and advertise yourself, but then do it freely, because
don't do it in the writing gals.
Yeah.
Because we don't do promo, and I'm always having to delete posts that people try to promote their books. So just don't do that in our group.
Exactly. Follow the rules of any groups you're in. But like, and I would say be careful that like you can even mess up your algorithms if you're pushing your book in the wrong places. But if it's one of your platforms, one of your social media sites, your newsletter, don't hesitate to tell people about your books. Be enthusiastic, be, like, what's the word? Like on it all the time, energetic, because they want to hear it. They're as excited about you as about your books as you are.
And and people as a whole are just lazy. So they would rather you kind them and tell them than have to go seek it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this question is about ARC readers and reviews. So it's kind of one and the same. So tips on building an ARC reader, and how do you get ways to get reviews? So if one of you want to take that, you want to do that one, Judy?
Sure, I'm going to do a class on this at a conference. Yeah, but something that, well, when I first started, I was, just wanting ARC readers. So I had you guys that were friends, and we kind of collaborated and maybe offered the ARCs to our ARC team, so that if you have author friends who write in your same genre and they're willing to share, that's a way you can do it. Also, what I do now is I just post on my social media platforms a Google form that people can fill out to apply to be on my ARC team. And that's been helpful recently, because instead of people just automatically who have been on the ARC team before thinking we're going to get it, it makes it seem a little more valuable, because there's only a certain number that are available. And so I get a lot of signups that way. And then also there you can use other websites or whatever that offer them. So there's like Book Sprout, I think, and I can't think of their name, but there's other places.
Story Origin?
Yeah, Story Origin. And you can upload your ARCs there, and people looking to be ARC readers will go on there and download your book. And then also NetGalley is another one. I haven't used that one yet, but I'm planning to with my next book to put my book on there, because that's where a lot of like the traditional publishers put their books. So it costs more money. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend you doing it at the beginning of your career, but once you're more established, that's a great place to go also.
So what do you wish that you had known when you started out in terms of ARC readers and reviews?
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I don't know. I think it's good to find ones that don't just read your book, that also, I do think bookstagrammers are helpful. So I would probably tell myself you can reach out to bookstagrammers and ask if they'd want to read your book. That's been helpful. And also that, you don't have to have a zillion reviews for your book to be successful. You can have just a couple good reviews and, you're good.
That's what I was going to say, was don't put so much importance on like the number of reviews that you have, because you just need, like I always aim to have like about a dozen reviews when a book launches. And honestly, the more successful your book is going to be, like more popular it is, the more the reviews are just naturally going to come in. Usually that's a sign to you that your platform's growing and that your career is going places, but it doesn't mean that it's like, don't freak out if you can only get 20 reviews on a book when you first get started, because everybody goes through that stage. And I think that too many people try and buy reviews, which you definitely should not do. They have their family review for them, which doesn't work. And most of the time Amazon figures out that they're your family and they take them down anyway. A lot of times if you ask like on your personal Facebook page for people to review your book, you'll get a lot of people on there that don't like the kind of book you're reading or writing, and then you'll get a lot of bad reviews because they don't like that. So it's one of those things that's really frustrating, but you almost have to just focus on finding ARC readers that like what you're reading and that already like to give reviews through some of the things that Judy has mentioned, and let it develop over time. Everybody has different strategies for it, but don't worry so much about reviews. I used to spend hours when my first book or two that I put out, I spent so many hours looking up like bookstagrammers and book bloggers and reading their policies and trying to find the ones that would accept indies and then sending them emails and coordinating back and forth. And I would like get a review out of some of them, but how many of those hours could I have spent writing my next book?
Mhm.
So, it's definitely something with everything. What is your return on investment?
I would say the things I wish or I had seen people, one, don't blast your reviewers on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Big no. Don't do that. Reviews are not for you. They're not for you to comment, and they're certainly not for you to blast your reviewers. So don't do that. There's been a lot of authors that have gotten into some major trouble that way. So that's number one. Two, you can kick people off your ARC team. You are not obligated to give them a free book. And if you get stinky people in there and people who are being rude to you and demanding, you can say bye-bye. You don't owe them anything. All right.
But once they have a copy of your book, then they can say whatever they want to say about it.
Yeah. So that's another, so you can call your team. You can say no. You can, like what Judy's doing now, she's limiting the amount of people. You don't owe people a free book. So that's one. And then I had another one, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, do not screenshot your reviews. That is against Amazon policy. Don't screenshot, don't crop it, don't do anything. All of that is Amazon's property. You may not use it. I think you can quote it, but you cannot actually take an image, screenshot, and then crop it in. Do not do that. You can lose Amazon accounts. You can lose Facebook accounts because it is copyright infringement.
Everything on the product page is their property.
Yes.
From like your bestseller tags to your review blocks that show like your ratings and this actual star image on your reviews, all of those are all copyrighted by Amazon.
Yeah. Even the logo Kindle Unlimited, but there's some debate on whether or not you can.
And the purchase button, like everything on the page is
and they will find you. And I almost lost my Facebook account and my Amazon account because of that. So do not do that. Okay. Wonderful. I'm going to look and see if there's any other ones because we wanted to keep this one short, our podcast short now. This one is good. And it was how to shut out the noise and focus on one strategy. And then, we can do that. At the same time, let's do this. How to write in multiple genres. Because that's kind of the same thing, right? Because you have to, if you write in multiple genres, you're going to have to be able to ignore. This one says, sorry, guys. What do you wish you'd known about writing in multiple genres? And what about writing under another name?
Okay. So like taking it like from an overview, one strategy you have to decide is whether or not you're going to stay with one genre or write in multiple ones. So like everybody kind of has to start there. And is it more successful to stay with one genre? Absolutely it is. Like the more you can like niche down what you write, the more successful you're going to be. But most of us don't want to do that because we want to write other things. And so if you want to branch out, you just have to determine like what your strategy will be for writing other things, which is pen names. So we could talk pros and cons of pen names. For me, so far, it's been more heavily weighted towards the cons of having to keep up with multiple names, not being able to have the reach of my current platform with those pen names, having to use advertising to build those pen names because I'm not good at those, and then having to like run separate websites, social medias, and newsletters for the pen name. So that's why I have avoided doing it personally, but it does make it difficult to sell other genres because it messes up my algorithms on Amazon.
Yeah, you said that with your fantasy. You wish you had maybe put it under a smaller pen name.
I think going forward, I'm going to have a pen name for any fantasy that I write. But because I chose to keep all of my genres under one name, I knew I had to have a very specific marketing strategy. So my marketing strategy became not my genre that I'm writing, but me as an author. So I try and brand myself as an author. And that's why I write clean romance across multiple genres. That's kind of like my main author tagline, and you'll see it on my website. And if you want to look at it, it's michelle-pennington.com, and you can go and see that I represent on my homepage. You'll see like news about everything that I've got coming up, and then I have different tabs for all the different genres that I write. and people can just go straight to the ones that they like. When I have my newsletter, readers are able to subscribe to receive newsletters or book recommendations specifically for just certain genres. So like if they want just historical from me, they can sign up to just get that. So and my newsletter is very segmented by genre, which means I can run everything from one place, but it allows readers to like really have a sort of specialized experience with it. But I mean, it's something you have to do intentionally. So just think about your strategy if you want to do multiple genres, and know that those are all things that you need to take into consideration.
I would say for me, as someone who writes in multiple genres, and somebody who has multiple pen names, I would say the biggest thing I wish I had known before I joined my 2 pen names was that I was missing out on extra BookBub opportunities. So if you have 3 different pen names and 3 different types of books, and you have 3 different opportunities, you can set up 3 different BookBub accounts, and you can be constantly requesting BookBubs from all 3 different accounts. Once you join them all together, you can't do that. Even with co-writing, if my Maggie Dallin, one of my co-authors, is running a BookBub on a different book, and I go to request a BookBub on the book we co-wrote, they will ask me if I want to cancel her BookBub. So be aware that if you do something like that, that you limit that opportunity. And BookBub is a huge marketer for us. And so I kind of wish that I had done that. Because honestly, joining Emma Wolf and Anne Marie really wasn't a big, it wasn't necessary, I don't think. And so I'm trying to separate them now, and then I'm going to see if BookBub will separate them, so I can have access to that. But yeah, that's kind of what I wish. Also, deciding who you are as an author. Like Michelle is a clean romance author. I'm a clean romance author. I want my name, any book that I'm associated with, they know will be clean. We give examples of Kelsey Stetling in our group. That is an author. She is a curvy girl author. So she can write whatever she wants, because I feel like she has branded herself as a curvy girl author. And so she can write YA, she can write adult, she can write sweet, she can write steamy, because all her readers are following her is for her curvy girl storyline as the main character. So, or like if you're a paranormal romance author, or if you are a rom-com author, figure out what type of author that you want to be, and then try to figure out what's going to be the easiest way for you to market yourself, giving yourself the most opportunities, but not confusing your readers at the same time. So,
and I always think it's really good to just focus on branding yourself as an author rather than marketing too heavily on any one series that you have, or any one genre, if that's the case that you have. Because so often what you'll end up doing is pigeonholing your readers into only following the one series or the one genre. And what you really want them to buy into is you, right? Mm-hmm. So anything you can do to get them to follow you as an author and read anything that you write is your most long-term business goal, the one that would be most successful for you, because that way you can grow and you can change and flex, and they'll be more likely to stay with you because you're what they bought into. And you just simply do that by, putting out good product and delivering to them the experience that they're looking for anytime they pick up your book, whether it's the same kind of book as the last one you published or not.
Yeah. What about you, Judy? Do you have anything you want to add?
I write in only contemporary romance, so I don't have all the other genres.
But you do have adult and YA.
Yeah. So I guess for me, I just want them to know they'll always get my voice, and my characters will always deal with hard issues, but also have lighthearted moments and a swoony experience.
Sometime we should have a whole podcast on branding ourselves as authors.
Yeah, I think that's great. All right, perfect. Well, we are going to end there. I know we got some questions that we didn't get into, but next week we will be doing another podcast. I'm not sure. This whole week was what have I learned, and setting goals, because I really want to do the last week to do a big goals one, because I love setting goals. And I don't necessarily think we need to do it at the end of the year, knowing what your next and seeing how the end of October is the end of our fiscal year as authors, since we get paid on 60 days. I would say I just wanted to real quick address this Facebook. Doesn't show us your name, but it says here that BookBub is more trustworthy, and I wonder if it has to do with more that BookBub has trained people to open emails. So people with BookBub open emails. People with Amazon might not necessarily open emails, but I'm pretty sure that my followers on Amazon are much bigger than my followers on BookBub. So just keep that in mind. What are people's habits?
Yeah, you also have to remember Amazon's sending it to them in a lot of different ways other than just email. They, like I said, my friend got one through Alexa. Get them through Kindle. They get them, all over the place on the product page. So there's a lot of different ways that Amazon shows your readers your books besides just like in emails. So you may not have any idea the scope of work that Amazon's doing for you because you don't see most of it.
Yeah. All right, perfect, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. We were excited to do that. If you haven't yet, sign up for our conference. All of this information that you are gleaning from us right now is going to be magnified tenfold in the classes that we have planned. We have writing sprints. We have live panels, question and answers. I'll be interviewing some people, deep diving into a lot of the different topics, talking about mindset. It's a huge part of my 2021 was changing my mindset, working harder, working less, but making more, all those sorts of things. And we got some really great teachers, and it's going to be a blast. You will definitely get major FOMO if you do not come.
You will.
So
you can find all the information about the conference in a pinned post on the Facebook group. And if you're just watching us on YouTube,
join the Writing Gals.
Yeah. Join the Writing
Or go to
Facebook group.
teachable.com and then look, I think it's teachable.com/writing, the Writing Gals, or you can search for schools there.
Yeah. As soon as we're done with this, I can just put the link to our conference in the notes.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So.
Perfect. All right.
Judy and her solutions.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Bye.
See ya.